Good morning to all of you. I am here to continue with the e-learning classes, and today's topic for discussion will be a very important one, and that will be anatomy of the middle ear. Anatomy of the middle ear is the basics when you go for surgery. Every surgery, by and large, starts with the anatomical sense, and you have to have a well appreciation of anatomy of the middle ear in order to progress yourself with some kind of a surgical approach if you want. So we'll have a detailed discussion on the anatomy of the middle ear today. Let me open the topic now. So this is a middle ear PowerPoint presentation which I have preserved. So first of all, let me tell you, uh, most of the otology practice, uh, be it is a surgical practice or a or a radiological practice, you have to have a good knowledge of the the three dimensional approach of the middle ear. So this is a PowerPoint presentation. We'll start with the introductory segment, and so this is uh, anatomy of the middle ear. So, so this is a middle ear consists of, this is a not exactly a cuboidal or a cube-like structure. So this is a middle ear. Middle ear is not only the opposite to the tympanic membrane area. It's a by and large very smallish area, and laterally the middle ear is bounded by the tympanic membrane and medially by the internal ear itself. So middle ear also has got an extension, the eustachian tube, which is in the anterior wall of the middle ear. It's just an extension of the middle ear. So the mucosa of the middle ear and the eustachian tube mucosa by and large are anatomically and embryologically are same. So the middle ear also extends by this opening, which is called as editus, to also a large opening in the bone itself. Every cell, air-filled cavity in a bone, in this case a temporal bone, will be called as a cell. A cell. So a cell will be a air-filled cavity in the temporal bone. We have got numerous types of cells. Middle ear is also a cell, and any cavity in a bone which is filled with the air is called as cell in the temporal bone and in the sense of otology. So middle ear is a cell, and this a large again a cell posterior to the, this is anterior, this is superior, this is posterior, this is inferior. So posterior to the middle ear, this is again a large cell which is called as mastoid antrum. But we have got numerous cell around the middle ear as a cell, and they all are named by the location itself. Be it is a facial cell, retrofacial, sigmoidal cell, or a labyrinthine cell, or an infralabyrinthine cell, or a tip cell, or zygomatic cells. So depending upon the location, we used to give the name to the cell itself. So the middle ear cavity, also called as tympanum, it is a extension of the eustachian tube anteriorly, and posteriorly it extends by a small opening into the posterior wall of the middle ear, into the posterior wall. So this is the posterior wall. Let me take it as the posterior wall. So the superior part of the posterior wall, the superior part of the posterior wall, we'll take a pen here and let me draw something. So in the previous slide, cancel it. option, we will take a pen here. Okay. So this eustachian tube extends into the middle ear, opens into the anterior wall of the middle ear, and this middle ear is opposite to the tympanic membrane. So this middle ear, on its superior aspect, opens through a tubular structure which is called as editus, editus, to a large cavity. Again, uh, air-filled cavity which is called as antrum or mastoid antrum. So we have got parts of the temporal bone. We have got tympanic segment. We have got mastoid segment. We have got deep sitting petrous part also. Petrous part also. So we have got tympanic segment of the temporal bone. We have got petrous segment, as well as we have got the mastoid segment. The tip segment is called as mastoid segment. Whole of this system, the apparatus is present in the temporal bone. In the temporal bone. So you can say the middle ear and the internal ear both lies in the temporal bone, apart from the bony part of the canal also. So these all are cells. These are mastoid ear cells. We have named according to the groups, according to the location of the group, these cells. But these two are the largest cells of the temporal bone, the middle ear and the mastoid antrum. So first of all, let me discuss about eustachian tube. Very important structure. Uh, Eustachian tube is a fibrocartilaginous tube. Fibrocartilaginous tube. Cartilaginous tube. So fibrocard is like external auditory canal. We have got a bony part also, and we have got a cartilaginous part also. So we have it's a 36 mm in length, like a canal itself. Canal in the sense is external auditory canal, and it is directed anteriorly, inferiorly, and medially from the anterior wall of the middle ear. So let me draw a schematic diagram. So let assume this is a middle ear, and the eustachian tube from the anterior wall descends and converges medially, inferiorly, and anteriorly to open into the posterior wall of the nasopharynx. Posterior wall of the nasopharynx. So essentially, this eustachian tube connects the anterior wall of the middle ear with the nasopharynx. Nasopharynx again is a very important structure. We have got some very important structure in the nasopharynx, like fossa of Rosenmuller, and we have got the adenoid or nasopharyngeal tonsil as well. And deep to the mucosa will be with the carotid artery itself, which is called as pharyngeal part of the or the neck part of the carotid artery. So enters the nasopharynx behind the posterior end of the inferior turbinate. So let me take some. So like assume this is a nasal cavity, this is a superior turbinate, this is a middle turbinate, and a large inferior turbinate, and this is the posterior wall of the nasopharynx. So if you extend this edge of the inferior turbinate, and this leads to on the posterior wall, it converges into a imaginary line which we extend from the inferior edge of the inferior turbinate, will lead you to the eustachian tube opening in the eustachian tube opening in the nasopharynx. So this is a you can say this is a middle ear end. This is a middle ear end, and this will be the nasopharyngeal end. So this part is essentially a bony part, and this part is a cartilaginous part. So this part is a cartilaginous part. So laterally in the sense is superiorly is bony, which is part present in the temporal bone itself. So this is a middle ear again, and the eustachian tube is directed downwards, medially, and inferiorly. Downwards, anteriorly, and medially. And medial two-third, the lower part is a cartilaginous part, and both these two parts meets in the in this line, and the eustachian tube essentially narrowed at this segment. Is this part is called an isthmus. Isthmus, you can see the isthmus part. So we have got this cartilaginous part also has got insertion of three muscles. Muscles in order to open this cartilaginous part of the eustachian tube, or the nasopharyngeal part of the eustachian tube. Three muscles are inserted which are responsible for opening of this eustachian tube. Eustachian tube is essentially closed and only opens during yawning and swallowing. Yawning and swallowing. It's not a open structure. It is a potentially closed structure, but only opens during yawning and swallowing. So these three muscles are called tensor veli palatini (TVP), levator veli palatini, and salpingopharyngeus. These three muscles: tensor veli palatini, levator veli palatini, and salpingopharyngeus. These are also inserted onto the soft palate. Soft palate. So these three muscles has got one end on the soft palate, and other end is inserted onto the nasopharyngeal end of the eustachian tube. So these three muscles are responsible for the closure of the cartilaginous part or the nasopharyngeal end of the eustachian tube. So this is again some Ottoman sweats. These already I have discussed. So this is a difference between the tabular presentation of the difference between adult and infant eustachian tube. The length 1836. Angulation is also different. The infant eustachian tube is more in line with the this is an adult presentation. This is a in pediatric population we have got. So the middle ear infection can travel. Can travel uh, uh, much more a common manner, or more commonly in the pediatric population than into the adult. So the eustachian tube is more in line, you can say in medical terminology, more in line, and hence the middle ear infection can transmit into the nasopharynx, but the reverse pathway is far more common, or you can say that nasopharyngeal infections like nasopharyngitis, or essentially a rhinosinusitis, or even a or even a tonsillopharyngitis can ascends into the middle ear, and by giving inflammatory response to this part of the eustachian tube, the cartilaginous part of the eustachian tube, whole of this circumferential mucosal edema is present, inflammatory edema is present, and which will block the eustachian tube in its cartilaginous segment. The bony segment is essentially open because it's a bony, it's not a collapsible part. But if there is a circumferential edema in the bony side also, yes, it can be closed, but this is a more commonly observed into the cartilaginous segment of the eustachian tube. And the inflammatory sequence which leads to a circumferential edema, and there is a blockage of the eustachian tube, and the middle ear then convert it, which is essentially a well ventilated structure through the eustachian tube, and this part is blocked, and it behaves like a closed cavity now, the middle ear. So the middle ear middle ear ventilation middle ear ventilation is essentially depends upon the eustachian, the patency of the eustachian tube. So if the eustachian tube block, so middle ear behaves as a closed cavity, and there is appearance of various bacteria and viral infection which leads to exudation and transudation in the middle ear, which are called as otitis media. So it's called as otitis media. Very, very important name, otitis media. Otitis media. Otitis media is an inflammatory sequence of the middle ear. Otitis externa is outer ear inflammation sequence of the cartilage and pinna, and the internal ear is by and large called as labyrinthitis. Labyrinthitis. It's an inflammation of the labyrinth. So Ottoman fats. So these three are important. Angulation is important. So it's a rather a flaccid cartilage also. So this is a vascular supply. This part we have already discussed. The anatomical and the endoscopic picture of the tympanic membrane we have already discussed, and so there is no need to give a revision of that. You can easily appreciate this cone of light, handle of Malleus, and this is a past upper segment, past flaccida. This is past tensa. This is anterior. This is posterior, superior, inferior. So we already discussed this. So we'll so this let me take you to the middle ear again. So you can see it's a box-like structure, but the height of this box is well above the tympanic membrane, well above the tympanic membrane. So opposite to the tympanic membrane, the part of the middle ear is called as mesotympanum. This part is mesotympanum. The part of the middle ear which is above this tympanic membrane is again a large part, which houses this head of the malleus and short process of the incus. So this part is called as epitympan, also called as attic. Epitympanum is also called as attic. So uh, 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 so obviously we have to it's a large topic. We will take this topic into two classes. So in the first segment we will only discuss up to this point. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.